If you're an older woman in a relationship, or even just emotionally involved with a younger man, this message is not just a warning, it's a wake-up call. There is something you might be doing, maybe without noticing, that slowly dissolves his attraction to you. And even more importantly, it erodes your connection to yourself. At first, it feels innocent, it seems generous, it might even feel like love. But over time it becomes a pattern of self-abandonment. So today, we're going to talk about what you should never do, not to manipulate him, not to keep his attention, but to protect your own value, your inner peace, and the part of you that knows exactly who you are. There's a particular kind of vulnerability that comes with age. It's not weakness, it's not desperation, it's a softness, a willingness to love from a deeper place, a desire for connection that isn't based on games but on truth. But that very openness can become the trap, especially when the man standing in front of you is younger. His energy is vibrant, his interest is real, and at first, you feel something you haven't felt in years, seen, desired, chosen. But underneath that initial thrill, something begins to shift. You start to wonder if he's too good to be true, if maybe you're imagining the connection, if he'll lose interest once he realizes your age, your lines, your lived experience. And without meaning to, you begin to overcome pensate. You begin to give too much grace, too much time, too much of yourself. You silence your needs. You pretend certain things don't bother you. You brush aside the moments that feel a little off because you don't want to appear insecure or demanding. You become the woman who says, "I'm fine," even when you're not. And this is where the shift begins. Because here's what most women don't realize, especially those who have lived, loved, and been broken before. When you offer unconditional acceptance too quickly, especially to a younger man, it doesn't make him love you more. It makes him stop needing to try. Carl Jung believed that what we repress, we project. And in many relationships between older women and younger men, both are projecting fantasies rather than meeting each other in reality. He sees in you a kind of nurturing he never got. You see in him the passion you thought was gone. But neither of you is truly grounded in what's real. And that's the danger. You stop asking if this feels mutual and start asking what you can do to keep him close. You become the giver, the healer, the patient one, the understanding one. And while those are beautiful qualities, when they are used as currency to maintain his interest, they become the very thing that drains your power. Never confuse overgiving with love. Never confuse tolerance with strength. Never confuse his silence with depth. You are not here to prove that you are lovable. You are here to remember that you already are. Let's be honest. Dating a younger man can be intoxicating. It wakes something up inside you. It reminds you of who you were before life made you guard your heart. But if you're not careful, you'll start to define yourself by his attention. And that's the mistake, because the moment you start bending, shrinking, or performing to fit his ideal, you begin to vanish, not in his eyes, in your own. You lose sight of your center, of what you truly desire, of what feels safe and sacred and reciprocal. You make excuses for red flags. You interpret avoidance as mystery. You rationalize inconsistency as freedom. You say things like he's just young, or he needs space, or he'll come around, and maybe he will. But maybe the lesson isn't about him. Maybe the lesson is about the part of you that still believes you have to earn love, even now. You don't. Carl Jung taught that our outer relationships are often reflections of our inner state. So ask yourself why you are attracted to someone who needs to be convinced of your value. Why are you drawn to a dynamic where you do most of the emotional labor? Why are you willing to give up parts of yourself to be chosen? These are not questions of shame. They are questions of awakening. You see, the real danger isn't dating a younger man. The real danger is abandoning your own depth to accommodate his unreadiness. Because when you start to dilute your essence just to be more palatable, you start to attract men who don't even know how to value what you really are. A younger man can love you. A younger man can honor you. But only if you stay anchored in yourself. Only if you resist the urge to parent him, fix him, mold him, or rescue him from his own immaturity. You are not here to raise another man. You are here to rise in your own fullness. And the right man, no matter his age, will meet you there. So what is the one thing you should never do? Never give from emptiness. Never perform from fear. Never let his youth become your permission to betray your wisdom. Because your experience is not baggage. It's not a flaw. It's not something to be hidden or softened. It's sacred. And if he doesn't see that, it's not your job to convince him. It's your job to protect your light. That is where your true power lives. Not in being agreeable, not in being low maintenance, not in being endlessly understanding. Your power lives in your presence, in your truth, in your ability to say, this is who I am. I know what I bring, and I will not dim it to make you feel bigger, because when you stay in that truth, you become unforgettable, not because you tried harder, but because you are finally real. And in a world that's full of performance, a woman who is real is the most magnetic thing he will ever encounter. Before we continue, if you've ever felt like your relationships reveal more about your wounds than your worth, the Jung Method can help you understand and heal the unconscious patterns that keep repeating. It's gentle, practical, and rooted in deep psychology. The link is pinned in the first comment. Let's go deeper. The most dangerous thing an older woman can do in a relationship with a younger man is not loving too deeply. It's believing that her love must be earned by becoming smaller, more agreeable, less complex, more available, less herself. That shrinking does not happen all at once. It happens through little choices. You say yes when you want to say no. You smile when you want to speak. You hold back questions that matter because you fear they will push him away. You start treating yourself as a guest in your own emotional life. You become careful instead of clear, accommodating instead of aligned. And the most painful part is that at first, it feels like love. It feels like devotion. It feels like you're being kind, supportive, understanding. But over time, you realize something is missing. You are missing from the relationship. What many women do not realize is that when they begin adjusting themselves constantly to avoid tension or rejection, they are training their nervous system to accept love that is conditional, love that must be maintained, love that demands performance. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow as the hidden part of the self that influences our life until we bring it to light. In relationships like these, the shadow often takes the form of self-denial, disguised as patience, of silence disguised as strength. You stop expressing what you need. You stop naming what hurts. You begin to believe that your expectations are unreasonable simply because he cannot meet them. You start to shrink in invisible ways. You take up less emotional space. You stop interrupting. You stop initiating. You start watching him for clues about how you should act instead of tuning in to how you actually feel. And the tragedy is that the more invisible you become, the more you crave being seen. This is not love. This is a distortion, a silent agreement to abandon yourself for the illusion of connection. When you are with someone younger, especially someone still discovering who they are, it's easy to fall into the role of teacher, of healer, of guide. You offer your depth in hopes that he will meet you there. But too often you find yourself standing alone in that depth. You explain what should be intuitive. You justify what should be natural. You carry the emotional weight of the relationship, while hoping he will someday rise and meet you with equal presence. But presence is not something you can teach. It is something a man must choose. And if he is not ready to choose it, no amount of patience will build that bridge. You are not meant to spend your energy training someone to see your worth. You are meant to share your energy with someone who already does. The danger is not in his age. It's in the dynamic that forms when you start believing that love must be held together by your effort alone. You begin to normalize inconsistency. You make excuses for the lack of depth. You downplay your intuition. You learn to live with emotional crumbs. You call it independence, but deep down you feel alone. Carl Jung believed that true healing comes from integration, from bringing all parts of ourselves into awareness. In these relationships, integration begins when you stop pretending, when you stop playing roles, when you stop confusing your ability to endure with your capacity to love. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you felt safe being fully honest with him? When was the last time you felt held without having to first hold him? When was the last time you felt chosen without effort? Love is not supposed to be a strategy. It is not supposed to be a performance. It is not supposed to be a puzzle you are always trying to solve. When you are in a relationship that requires constant adjusting, you are no longer growing. You are managing his mood, managing his expectations, managing your disappointment. You begin to tiptoe through your own emotions. You hide the parts of you that are too intense, too wise, too experienced, too much. But the parts of you that you hide are often the very parts that make you magnetic, not for a man who needs fixing, but for a man who is ready. ready to meet you as you are, ready to offer presence instead of promises, ready to love the woman you have become, not just the idea of you. You are not here to rescue. You are not here to mold. You are not here to hold together something that was never whole to begin with. You are here to be fully alive. And being alive means having boundaries. It means walking away when love feels like labor. It means choosing discomfort over self-abandonment. Sometimes we confuse attraction with alignment. Just because someone lights you up does not mean they are right for your soul. The younger man you are drawn to may awaken something beautiful in you. But if that beauty comes at the cost of your peace, it is not love. It is a mirror, reflecting back the parts of you still asking to be healed. It is tempting to believe that with enough time, he will catch up, that your love will inspire him to grow, that he will eventually understand. But this keeps you trapped in a future that does not exist. Meanwhile, the present version of you is starving. You keep waiting, hoping, giving, explaining. You sacrifice clarity for connection. You sacrifice rest for repair. You sacrifice truth for the dream of being enough, but you are already enough. And any love that cannot meet you there is not your home. Carl Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That becoming requires letting go of relationships that ask you to be someone else. It means releasing the need to be understood by someone who cannot yet understand himself. It means grieving the fantasy of what could have been so you can honor the reality of what is. It is not cruel to choose yourself. It is not selfish to protect your peace. It is not wrong to want to be seen without having to disappear first. Your softness is sacred, but only when it is protected by strength. Your love is medicine, but only when it is shared, not extracted. Your wisdom is powerful, but only when you trust it enough to walk away from what weakens. It does so. Never do this. Never let your age become a reason to settle. Never let your desire become a reason to chase. Never let your empathy become a reason to abandon your own emotional safety. You are not too old. You are not too much. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for reciprocity, for presence, for a relationship that feels like breathing, not like holding your breath. And that kind of love is possible, but only when you stop offering your wholeness to someone who only wants the parts of you that are easy to love. The right man, no matter how old he is, will not need you to shrink. He will expand with you. He will meet you in your fire, in your silence, in your truth. And when he does, you will not feel younger. You will feel timeless, because love, in its truest form, has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with alignment. And the moment you choose yourself fully, unapologetically, and with reverence, is the moment you stop attracting boys who need your healing and start attracting men who respect your soul. Let this be the turning point. Let this be the moment you stop making excuses and start making boundaries. Let this be the moment you stop asking if he likes you and start asking if you feel safe, cherished, and free, because you are not here to be an emotional caretaker for someone else's growth. You are here to grow with someone who meets you where you are and walks with you forward, hand in hand, soul to soul.